Stories today, the growing threat from North Korea. Sources telling Fox News the Pentagon is ramping up security and resuming the implementation of its missile defense shield. This after North Korea warned of a preemptive nuclear strike against the United States. General Jack Keane is a retired four-star general and former vice chief of staff of the Army. Are we safe, General?
Well, there's certainly a growing threat from North Korea. We know they have nuclear weapons. They're trying to miniaturize them so they can affix them to a missile, and they developed missile technology, which they just tested back in December, that is attempting to reach the west coast of the United States, obviously to include Alaska and Hawaii. That's where they're heading. We have to take that threat seriously.
How many of you guys have heard of the nuclear bomb from North Korea? Okay, so obviously you guys all watch the news or you guys hear it from people. You know, the media is unavoidable. They're always sending out these negative messages that something bad is going to happen, and they're always trying to keep us scared. They're always trying to instill this fear in us, even if it's true or not. So obviously it's unavoidable. Whether you hear it from family, friends, the news, Facebook, Instagram, whatever, you guys always hear it, right? They're always trying to keep us scared. They always tell us about all the deaths that are going around, the increased crime rates, things that can lead to death, diseases, and most of all, the war. So one way that the media is always trying to scare us is with talking about the deaths that are around us in local cities and stuff, and the increasing crime rates. In an article called Scaring America by Brown, he says, indeed, many political theorists would be able to conclude the same thing. Virginia Health offers a compelling argument that the media is responsible for the political violence in the world due to its inept and incompetent coverage of both sides of the issue. She states empathetically that the media has failed in its role to cover both views as well as the nonviolent alternatives. So obviously she's saying, you know, the media is always giving you this negative view on things, and they don't really cover both sides. They just tell you the bad things that are going on. They don't really tell you about anything good going on. You always hear on the news how somebody was killed or somebody was shot, there's an accident, oh, there's more crimes going on, you know, people are getting away with more and stuff like that. Also, they tell us about things that may harm us, that new things that are coming out, like chemicals and things found in our foods and everyday lives that can really harm us, lead to heart disease, brain disorders, you know, different things. And people are left with this constant fear that they're not safe. Why don't they show less violent things, you know? In an article saying, Are We Scaring Ourselves to Death by Cole, he says, we become paralyzed with fear and unable to separate real risks from exaggerated ones. So he's talking about the chemicals that we find in our foods. You know, you go to McDonald's and say, oh, this may lead to cancer, you know, but everybody still eats it. There's always new things coming out saying that they can harm us. In an article by Geary called The Number One Worst Food That Harms Your Brain, he says, many sports drinks, even though marketed as healthy, can have large amounts of corn syrup or even crystalline fructose as their main sweetener. These sports drinks can be equally as bad as soda for your body and brain. So he's saying this high intake of fructose is bad for you. He goes on to say, this high intake of fructose can lead to impaired memory and learning in your brain, increased risk of diabetes, and increased risk of heart disease. So which is it? I mean, they're sports drinks. They're always telling you, you know, drink these sports drinks. They're healthy. They give you energy, but then they're coming out and saying that they can lead to diabetes and they're just as bad as the soda. I mean, are they good or are they bad? They exaggerate these things. They tell you all these stories just to scare you. In an article called On War and Morality by Holmes, he says, the threat to the survival of humankind posed by nuclear weapons has been frightening and essential focus of public debate for the past 4 decades. So obviously, they've been talking about war for decades now, and they keep telling us these bad things that are going to happen. You know, the U.S. is going to get nuked or something, but it never really happens. So why do they keep telling us? Clearly, we are afraid of the media because I've seen people do crazy things. You know, they go into shelters, they're hiding because they think the war is going to start. They're packing up things. You know, like the incident with the 2012, they were trying to scare us that the world was going to end, but nothing really happened. And those things are always happening. They had one in the year 2000 where the computers were going to take over, but nothing happened. And media isn't always telling the truth. Sometimes it's just opinions. Like the sports drinks. How do we really know if they're healthy or not? In an article by Brown, he says, the perceived outlook on the world is always skewed by the media. Bias and therefore public opinion is, in a very real way, affected by the media. So it's all only opinion. It's what the media thinks is going on, what they believe is what's happening. It's not really what's happening, it's just what they think. It's just an opinion. So we went over the things that can cause the ways the media tries to scare us. They use deaths that are going on around us, these things that can lead to death, which we don't really know if they're true, and the war. You know, they're always trying to leave people with this fear. They're trying to make us think that we're not safe. Why don't they show us these less violent things that are going on in the world? So in conclusion, I'm going to leave you with a quote by Cole. He says, the quote we say, we do not talk to say something, but to obtain a certain effect. So he's saying, we don't talk to you to tell you something. We're telling you so we can get an effect out of you, so we can see your reaction. And that's what the media is doing. They're trying to scare us and leave us in fear so that they can still be in control.